And we are live. Hello and welcome everyone to Circuit Stream's Intro to AR, Build Your Own Living Portrait Workshop. Today we're going to be learning the basics of AR mobile development by bringing your portraits to life. I'm your host Brendan, and shortly we'll be joined by your instructor for today, Usman or Ozzy Murr. Before we get into it, I wanted to do a quick audio video check. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me and see me. It would be greatly appreciated. Kyle, Anna, Carrie, yep. Francois, okay, awesome. Looks like we are ready to go. Thank you guys for the feedback there. Also wanted to provide a quick overview of your layout here. So to the top right of your interactions tab, you'll notice a little bell icon. If any of those notifications or sounds are distracting to you, are annoying, go ahead and hit that bell icon and it will silence everything. With regards to comments and engagement, feel free to chat with other audience members here in the chat. We also have members of the team who would love to hear from you. Throughout the workshop today, if you have any questions, I would ask that you direct those to the questions tab just at the bottom right. We will be doing a Q&A at the end of the session, so we definitely want to make sure we're well organized and that we are able to address all of your questions. Lastly, we do have a few polls that I'm going to be sharing. I'll post our first one, and it's just around your Unity experience. So we just want to kind of gauge the experience level of our audience, see who's joining us today, and then gain some feedback a little later on. Would be very, very helpful. So let me just post that. So go ahead and check out the polls tab. Let us know about your experience level with Unity. And again, it would be much greatly appreciated. So I'm Brendan. I'm going to be your host for today. I'm on the education team here at Circuit Stream. I come from a background in investment management for about 5 years, saw where the XR industry was going and just had to get involved. And Circuit Stream was the best place to do that. Fun fact about me, I am a competitive rugby player, and throughout my 16 seasons, I've never broken a bone, which I feel like is statistically impressive or lucky, I guess. Your instructor for today is going to be Ozzy. He's a lead instructor and XR developer here at Circuit Stream. He has over 10 years of Unity experience and over 7 years of XR development experience. And fun fact, he is passionate about jazz, so he actually plays the drums. Now, what is our agenda for today? So the first 10 to 15 minutes, I want to do a bit more of an introduction for Circuit Stream and just kind of share who we are, where we come from. Then we'll enter the technical session. So Ozzy will jump on stage here and take over for about 30 to 45 minutes. Afterwards, we'll do a wrap up and share additional resources, more information about our course offerings here at Circuit Stream. And then lastly, we'll do a live Q&A. So Ozzy will come back on stage, be able to answer any technical questions that you have. And typically this takes about 15 minutes, sometimes longer, depending on how curious our audience is. Just as a reminder, this will be recorded and sent to all of our registrants today, as well as the project materials. If you haven't received them already, they will be sent. And I think we have a link here that you can access them right away as well. Let me just share that. There we go. So check out that link if you'd like to access the project materials right away. And then aside from that, just sit back, get cozy, and just focus on digesting the information that Ozzy is going to be sharing with you. Take notes, actively listen, comment, ask questions in the questions tab. And then when you're ready to start implementing what we're learning today, definitely I would recommend leveraging the replay. You'll be able to go at your own pace, and it'll be just, I think, a much better experience as you go through building this project. So who are we here at Circuit Stream, or what is Circuit Stream? So we were founded in 2015 when we identified a demand for education in the growing XR industry. Our focus is on providing the highest quality education in XR design and development, as well as for industry-leading tools such as Unity. To date, we've helped over 40,000 learners develop their technical skills around immersive and emerging tech. Now, we have team members and instructors all over the world who are passionate about accelerating the AR and VR industry. And this also helps us accommodate students across different time zones and geographies. If you'd like to, share in the comments where you're joining us from. I'd also be very curious to know what our kind of reach is here today and who is joining us. Circuit Stream is also a Unity channel partner and authorized training provider. For anyone not familiar with Unity, it is one of the most robust and dynamic development engines on the market that is used to create applications, games, and even productions as in film and television. Our Unity certified instructors have a combined decades of experience in Unity and XR development and maintain the highest level of certification available through Unity. Portugal, California, Colorado, Montreal, BC. Holy smokes, all over the place. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Just a little bit more about CircuitStream here. We work with some of the largest organizations in the world, such as Walmart, Lockheed Martin, the US Navy, and many others. We work with organizations large and small, right down to the individual learners. So CircuitStream offers flagship courses around programming, XR design and development, as well as for Unity's development or physics engine. Our XR development with Unity course is 10 weeks in duration, consists of 3 hours a week of live instructor-led sessions. It's beginner-friendly. It's a course for any students or professionals who are interested in adding the fundamentals of XR development to their skill set. The next cohort will be launching on May 17th, so that's coming up. If anyone's interested, definitely start your inquiry today, just with that launch date in mind. Our XR Interaction Design and Prototyping course, again, it's 10 weeks, beginner-friendly, and has 3 hours a week of live instruction. And this is more so for artists and designers who want to focus on immersion, environmental elements, and user experience. Students will learn the process of prototyping for AR and VR, and this is a very popular course among UI, UX designers, as well as product designers looking to upskill for emerging spatial computing platforms. Now, just before we move on, actually, either of these XR focus courses are project driven and have been designed to help students break into exciting professions related to augmented, virtual, and/or mixed reality. And then lastly, our newest and most elaborate course yet revolves around launching your career as a real-time 3D developer, employing Unity as your main tool for creation. The 24-week Unity Developer Bootcamp is a career course that offers more than 5 hours of live instruction throughout the week, with an additional 5 hours of hands-on learning in labs over the weekend. You'll learn how to code in C#, manage a multitude of programs and resources integrated with Unity, and professionally manage Unity projects. There will also be a multitude of resources and career services students can access to help launch their careers in real-time 3D development. The next cohort for our Unity Developer Bootcamp will be launching on October 11th. So you do have some time. Definitely check out more about that course if you are interested. Now you can also leverage the expertise of our instructors for anything Unity and XR related with our one-on-one project support and mentorship packages. These sessions have tons of flexibility regarding how you use this time. It can be leveraged for additional course learning, for troubleshooting and project support, or for learning about topics within XR that may not be captured in our flagship course curriculums. For example, many of our instructors are well-versed in Unreal Engine as well. I'm also proud to announce that we have also been partnering with some of the most well-recognized universities to offer our courses through their continued education programs. This is helping all kinds of students access our unique set of XR design and development courses through well-established educational institutions. Now, today is an intro to building your own living portrait in AR. Just as a reminder, before Ozzy takes over, the session will take about 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, depending on maybe some questions or pacing. This will be recorded and sent to you, so you should already have the project files there with the GitHub link, but the recording will be sent after we conclude as well. Just as another reminder, any questions throughout the workshop today, please direct those to the questions tab. We'll be really looking forward to answering them during the Q&A at the end. And then aside from that, sit back, relax, and soak up all this great information that Ozzy's going to be sharing with you. He is a very talented XR developer, and he wants to impart some wisdom. So Ozzy, without further ado, are you available to come on stage?
Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Can you hear me all right?
There he is. I can hear you. Let's let our audience also comment and make sure that they can hear you. And I will jump off stage in the meantime.
All right, great. Get situated here. I can hear. Awesome. Oh, hey, James, hey, Cara, Davio. A lot of familiar names in the chat here. So today, as he explained, we will be taking a look at how to create living portraits in AR. And I wanted to show you an example before we get started. Now, this is fairly quick demo. You can set this up rather quickly, but I want to show all of the nuances that can really help the experience get better. So without any further ado, I'm going to just share my screen here, kind of show what's going on. All right, so I'll get Visor up and running. Let's see if I can just quickly share my Android phone. So we'll go through the build process of getting this onto an Android phone, and I'll provide some instructions along the way of how to do it for iOS devices. However, I'm using Windows. It's very difficult to build onto an iPhone. So Visor, you don't need it. I'm just using it to share my screen with you. Okay, well, let's take a look at this here. All right, now you can have a lot of freedom in terms of how you do this, but I'm going to just show you what's kind of going on in multiple angles here. So you can see my computer screen there. There is a static image of JFK, one of the beloved presidents of the United States, and one of my favorite speeches from him. So you can see my phone is now looking at him.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
All right, so there we have it. So that's roughly the idea. I'm in quite a bit of difficulty holding up two of those devices together, but accomplishing that goal, you can make it look quite impressive. Here, I'm just using a picture of JFK, which is actually just the first frame of a video. And that's kind of the general idea. Now, if you do cartoonish styles, you can animate them yourselves and whatnot, but we'll proceed forward with video clips, because that's really the crux of it. Now, let me close this and we'll start from scratch. I'm going to create a new Unity project using URP to make this happen. So I'll open up my Unity hub. So there's my hub icon there, and I'll open that up. This is the project that I will see. I'll go ahead and create a new project. Now you can use Unity 2019, 2020, 2021. Any of those will work just fine. So I'll go ahead and create a new project. And since we're developing for mobile devices, I highly recommend going with URP. So now some of you, based on your version of Unity Hub and Unity, may not have it saying URP. It may say something slightly different. The template name will be a little bit different. So Universal Render Pipeline is what it's listed for, Unity 2020. David asks, what is Ozzy's hardware setup? Just curious. Oh, I've got a NVIDIA GTX 1070, I believe. And my processor is, let me check real quick. Here. There you go. There's my processor. It's pretty good, I'd like to think. But with that aside, we're starting a URP, just a 1070. Wow. Yeah, it's old now, so I'll have to upgrade soon. It's good enough for everything I'm trying to do. All right, so my project name, Unity project, I'll call this my living portrait. Most of the money I went towards my processor, though. That thing is quite amazing. All right, living portrait and workshops, that's the name. I will go ahead and create that URP project. How to be creepy. Oh, actually, that reminds me of another example of this. Let me see if I can pull that up. While that is loading. There we go. So what we're largely using in this application is image tracking. That's the main aspect of what we're trying to do. So let's say, for example, we wanted to make something totally different. So something like this. I've got an example there that's going to load up here in a second. And one of my favorite ones with image tracking is that nice little scary demo example as well. So be forewarned. So here, with the same method, you can do something like this. Right? Some really cool examples and living portraits. This is the exact thing we're working on. Nice little painting there, and be forewarned, this is meant to be scary. Did not know. Yep, I made this just for those interviews that was going on. But yeah, swanmirror.com. Okay, so now that our project is up and running, we've got a URP project. There's a lot of unnecessary, assets in my project. Now, for all of those who are unfamiliar with assets, these are all these files that are part of my project, such as those 3D models and whatnot. As a quick view of what you're looking at here, I have a bit of a custom layout. So I'm just going to go to the default layout, so we're on the same page with everyone. Here, I have a hierarchy window. This is just listing off all of the objects in my scene. This is my scene window, which me as the developer, I can look around, fly around, and adjust what I need to. Here is my inspector window. So if I select something like my main camera, it'll just light up with a bunch of information about that object, or to be more precise, all of the information about that object, pretty much. Now, here I'm in the scene view, so me as the developer, I can move around, but there is the game window, which allows you to test by simply hitting the play button, your experience. Now, there are plugins for AR Foundation that you'll need to get if you want to use this system, but by default, the game window won't really help us test out all of AR Foundation's features. For this project, there's no purchase required. This project comes with some of these 3D models, but we won't be using them. Now, here at the bottom, I have my project window. It's just like a quick view into my Explorer. So these are all my files in my Unity project. This is just nice, easy access to all of those while you're running your experience. And finally, we have the console window, which will just tell us if we have any problems with our project or help us debug our experience. All right. So with all that aside, what do we need to do to get going? Now, part of this tutorial is going to require us to change the platform we are targeting. So towards the end of this, we're going to go File, Build Settings, and we're going to choose a different platform, and we'll switch to it. Don't do that yet, but that's our end goal. Now, the more assets you have in your project, when you do that, the slower that process will be. So personally, I'll just get rid of my example assets folder, my tutorial info, my README file. These and the presets that come with this particular template for Unity, well, I'm not going to use those, so I'll just delete those. Example assets, presets, tutorial info, README. Those are gone now. And if you're getting the same template, you can do the same thing. Get rid of those. And I have a script that was written by the setup for this template, so I'll delete that as well. All right, there we go. So that gets us a nice, fresh project here. Now, for anyone who didn't start up in URP, or they have another project that's not in URP, I have created a short video on how to convert an existing project to the universal render pipeline. Now, what is this I'm talking about, URP? Well, Unity has a built-in render pipeline that is not particularly optimal. It's not optimized for mobile. It's not optimized for the Oculus Quest. And it's a little bit more expensive to run on a phone. So the universal render pipeline, URP, or in older versions of Unity, it's called the lightweight render pipeline. It can still look really good, but it performs much better. So I suggest a lot of our XR students to switch to URP. If you're creating desktop applications, you could even use the HDRP, the high definition render pipeline. But this is just going to be using URP here. Okay, so first step, I've got a new project. You don't have to necessarily delete those assets, but it'll help. I'm going to start by doing File, New Scene, create a new scene for us. That part I would like everyone to do, so we'll go ahead and say File, New Scene. Okay, so that new scene has been created. I'm just going to go ahead and say File, Save. And I'll save this scene in our Scenes folder, and I'll call this I'll just go with Main. I'll call this my main scene, basically. So in my Scenes folder, there it is, Main. This has these other two scenes and assets. I'm just going to delete those as well. But here we go. Our project is started. Now, for us to use this system, we are going to need to import AR Foundation as well as the associated package for the mobile device we're going to use. So to do that, we go up to Window at the top of your screen. We go on down to Package Manager. And in our packages, where it says in project, we would change that to Unity Registry. Okay, so just anyone who is trying to follow along, I'll just quickly repeat those steps. Apart from deleting the unnecessary assets in your project window, which is not the important part that you necessarily need to follow along with, we can go ahead and say File, New Scene, create a new scene. Basic built-in is fine, create that. And this is your scene. Just go ahead and then save that. And I've saved that as main in my scenes folder. So that was step one. Step two, we go up to Window, Package Manager. Now in our Package Manager, you may have defaulted this top left thing to in project, my assets, built in. Whatever the case may be, make sure that this says Unity Registry. All right, so that was step one. That's step two, I guess. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look for our AR Foundation package. Now, if you'd like, you can also search up AR here at the top. Some of the newer version of Unity actually has categories. And so there'll be a category for AR or XR that you can expand. That'll show all of these. But so yeah, simply typing AR up here, I see the AR Foundation package. So I'm going to select that and I'll go ahead and install. So once again, Package Manager, AR in the search field, or you can just find it in the list, select it and click on Install. I'm using 4.1.9. Some of you may need to switch to 4.2 if you're coming across several errors, but this should be fine. Then I'm also going to select AR Core XR plugin. Now this is for Android devices. You can get both AR Core and AR Kit, so this project is compatible with Android and iOS. That's up to you. So I'll get AR Core for one. And then once that's completed, I'll go ahead and install AR Kit XR plugin as well, because I want this project to be cross-compatible. One 1.0.12, okay. That version for what? Yeah, that's fine as well. If that's the latest version you have available, then yeah, that's okay. All right, so we've got AR Foundation, AR Core, and AR Kit. Ideally, their versions are matching what AR Foundation has. So if you got 4.2, make sure that all of these are 4.2. Okay, so with that said, if you're using 2019, the versions might be a little different. So in that scenario, just use whatever the latest versions are for each one of them. But that aside, we're good on the packages. So now what do we need to do? Okay, because we're using Android, we need to go up to Edit and down to Project Settings and edit some of our player settings. So once again, that is ARKit face tracking. You don't need ARKit face tracking for this particular thing that we're working on. We just need ARKit XR plugin. But if you do want to implement face tracking as well, you can do that. You can bring that package in. Okay, so once again, that was Edit Project Settings. Now, it should default to player, but if it hasn't, just go ahead and click on that. And one of the things you do need to change, the default company, will change that to something like your name, for example. I'm going to go with CS for Circuit Stream. The product name is the name of your app. This can be different from your project name, and that's totally fine. But, have it something different. Now, once again, I'm now in the Android tab. and I am going to remove the Vulkan graphics API. This does not work well with XR. So I'll go ahead and remove that. So once again, edit, project settings. I am in the player section, selected the Android tab, and I click on Vulkan and remove. And once again, in case you missed that other step, your default company name, you need to change the company name to something different. It won't let you build the application otherwise. Okay, so we've done that. Remove the Vulkan graphics API by selecting it minus, but we need this one. Next, we scroll down, and we're going to change the minimum API level from 4.4 to 7.0. This will be the minimum requirement for AR applications using AR Foundation, AR Kit, or AR Core. Now, there is alternatives for AR dev kits such as Vuforia. Now, Vuforia doesn't rely on any other sensors but the camera of a device, which means you can have much older versions of Android using it. If your phone has a camera, you can probably run Vuforia on it. But Vuforia comes with a hefty price tag, right? So that's one downside, and most people probably have Android 7.0 or newer at this point. But that's another thing we have to make sure to do, to make sure that our project is compatible with Android devices. But that should be it. For older versions of Unity, like Unity 2019, make sure Android TV compatibility is unchecked. This perhaps is the same for you in 2020. It shouldn't be. In 2020, they have it unchecked by default, but 2019, make sure that it's unchecked. Okay, so that gets our Android settings. But what about iOS? For all those iPhone developers or iPad developers, go ahead and click on iOS, scroll down into our other settings section, and we'll want to just change a few things. So, for example, automatically sign will be a good place to start. This will come into play when you have Xcode installed on your computer and you start building onto your iPhones and iPads. You'll have to sign up through the Apple developer program. With Android, you don't really have to do that, but that's good for now. And here, under camera usage description, you need to type in something. So please, AR, whatever you want to type in. So the fact that I have something typed in here, it tells your app to request camera usage permissions on the device. If we don't get these permissions, your app cannot render an AR background. Okay, so that's another requirement. If we scroll down, that should do it, as long as, now once again, Unity 2019, it'll need to change this to 11.0, but it should be defaulting to 11.0 for everyone else. Requires ARKit support. We want to enable that property. Okay, next, we'll want to make sure that these SDKs are enabled in our whole project. So as a quick run through of this again, in iOS device settings, we went down, made sure that automatically sign is checked, made sure we typed something into the camera usage description input field. Scroll down, we made sure that the minimum iOS version is 11.0. We said that requires ARKit support is enabled. Now, regardless of Android or iOS, once again, company name needs to be something different. How to remove Vulkan again? So if I had my Android tab, you would see Vulkan listed here in your graphics API list. So you'd select it and just hit minus. And that should remove it. Now, since we haven't changed our build platform to Vulkan, to Android, this happens a lot faster. Now, final step here in our project settings, we go on down to XR plugin management and make sure Android tab has AR Core enabled and our iOS tab has AR Kit enabled. Now, if you're using a Windows computer, it's likely that you don't even have the iOS tab option, so that's totally okay. You can work through getting iOS build support through your Unity Hub once again, but just saying likelihood there. But that's our project settings, so we can build an AR app onto our phones. Now, I'll go back up to File, Build Settings, and now I can actually choose a particular build platform. So, for example, if I'm doing iOS, I'd select iOS, click Switch Platform, but I'm going to be doing Android for this demo. So I'll select Android and click Switch Platform. This, however, will take some time. But the fact that I deleted all my unnecessary assets, I did all my settings in my project settings first. The last thing I'm doing here is changing my platform, so should make it a little bit faster. This process can hold people up though. Face transparency app for iOS? Yes, Sajad, you pretty much can. And welcome to the workshop, Sajad. So once again, to switch this, I would say File, Build Settings, I'd select Android or iOS, and click on Switch Platform to make sure my Unity logo is on that platform, allowing me to build onto it. All right, last thing is in our build settings, we have scenes and build. It's kind of null here. So I'm just going to click on Add Open Scenes. I deleted this previous scene from my project, so I'll just right click on that and remove the selection. So now I'm just left with my main scene. But once again, that was just add open scenes because that is the scene I have open here. If you need to add more than one scene, you can go to your scenes folder and drag and drop them as needed. There you go. So our project is now actually ready to be built onto, in my case, an Android phone. Now, since we're using the universal render pipeline, we need to do one more step. I would need to go into our settings, select my forward renderer, and make sure to add a renderer feature called AR background renderer feature. So once again, because I'm using Android, because I'm using URP, I need to go to settings, forward renderer, this asset here, and click on add renderer feature called AR background renderer feature. So this is actually unrelated to Android. If you have Android or iOS, you'll need to do this, but this is only if you're using URP. Okay, so we'll just let those people who are trying to catch up here. So I'm going to take a quick minute here to let you do that. If you have any questions at this time about what we've done, what steps we've taken, please feel free to ask. This is one of those things I do in class as well, is just give everyone a short breather every 20 minutes. So, I'm just gonna, didn't hit play there, so I'll just say 10 seconds. When 10 seconds are left, we'll continue forward. Oh, looks like Kelly's typing. Let's see if we can answer some quick questions about the process so far. Wanted to introduce my teaching style a little bit. I know I have to go a little bit fast for the workshop, but so you get an idea of what's going on. We've got some questions hopefully coming in here. Is the best teacher ever. Oh, thank you, Diana. It's very kind. I miss our weekly one-on-ones. Me too, Michael. Saying it from experience. Oh, too kind, too kind. Okay. All right, so let's return to actually setting up our scene. Right now, we have our default scene, just a main camera and a directional light. Now, the main camera works fine for a regular experience, but we're going for AR. And we have a directional light here as well. That's kind of like our sun. We'll leave this in here because we're going to use this for light estimation. So AR Foundation can kind of guess what direction the light in your environment is and can kind of adjust accordingly. So what are our steps now to set up our scene? I'm going to select my main camera and right click on it and say delete, or just press the delete key on my keyboard. Get rid of that. And bring it by right clicking here or selecting game object or this plus symbol and saying XR AR session origin, and same thing XR AR session. So this will effectively have made my experience a AR experience. If I was to build this, I save my scene and build it onto my phone, I would have my camera being shown in my mobile app. So let's take a look at that one more time. What did I do to my scene? I selected my main camera, right-click on it, and select delete. And then I can right-click in here, some empty gray space, and say XR AR session origin, and one more XR AR session. So the AR session origin is going to kind of define the center of my world, and it has the actual AR camera as a child object. You can see hierarchies in our hierarchy window. So if I was to move the AR session origin object, my camera would move with it, as you can see. And I have an AR session. This is more about handling the input from our users and updating our digital content. All right. So I said Ozzy has a fan club. Is it being recorded? Yes. Bad internet bandwidth. Oh, sorry to hear that, Fernando. Okay, so we've got these two objects in our scene. Now, as a side note for how AR Foundation works, a little bit different from, what is it called? A little bit different than Vuforia and other SDKs in the way that it's set up. So what happens with AR Foundation is, let's say we have our room here, and the user of our experiences, they're standing up and they're holding up their phone over here. This becomes, as soon as they run the app and their phone is there, this becomes 0, 0, 0 in position coordinates. As you might have noticed, that if I select an object, I have this transform component that tells me the position of the object. If I was to move this object forward, you can see how the Z value has increased quite a bit, 3.0, so forth, 1.99. And if I move it in the X value moves up, the green arrow moves the Y value up, that kind of thing. So this is the idea. The moment you start the experience, this becomes 0, 0, 0. Now, if the person happened to be, lying on the ground for whatever reason, and they are holding their phone up like so, this would be 0, 0, 0 in the world, basically. So that's just something to keep in mind as a side note there. Won't matter too much here, but that's the idea. Okay, so we have our AR session, we have our AR camera, all of it is set up in our scene, but we want to make image tracking possible. So how do we do that? Let's go over the base minimum, and then we're going to implement our living portraits. So I'll create a new folder for our workshop. I'll just call it workshop so I can nice and easily put everything there. But generally, you'll want to keep your content, your assets folders neat and tidy. But just so that it's easy to see everything we're working with, I'll keep it like so. All right, let's bring in our assets here. So to make this work, what we need is in our project window, you can right click in here, click create, and go down to XR and select reference image library. So I'm going to try that one more time, maybe a little bit higher up. Create XR reference image library. That's what we need. So I'll create one of those here. And if I select it, I'll see in the inspector window the add image option. Here I can add as many images as I'd like to help display some digital content on them. So once again, you saw how I created it. This reference library is going to be referenced in our scene, and we'll be able to choose what images, our custom images, we'd like to track. So here, I'd click on Add Image to make that happen. Now, I have with me some files that I'd like to use. So what I've done for making the living portraits work is I have a video.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
So it's a video, right? But what I do is I go ahead and look at the very first frame of this video. So it looks something like this, I believe. Let me just double check. There it is. So this is my first frame of my video. And so I take a screenshot of this or a picture of this, and I want to print that out into a canvas or a portrait, something. This is just a nice way to go about it. If you want to create animations of existing portraits, that's fine as well. But this is going to be your fastest bet. So we recorded a video. Now we look at the first frame, and I print screen that, or I copy this image, and I have that as a file here. So I call this the JFK start image, just so that I know what the first frame of my image looks like. So I'll drag and drop that into here. Boom, there we go. And I want the video that it's associated with as well. So I'll drag and drop that here. So I've got the image of the first frame and I've got the actual video. Now, what I like to do is I have this one separate image that is a invisible image. So it literally has nothing. It also doesn't need to be very large, but it doesn't have any color. It's totally transparent. What is the purpose of this image? Well, I'll show you here in a second. Well, I'll just bring this one in, and so we'll just see what it's like. Now, when you detect an image, the video that is associated with that image doesn't immediately load. This is a thing I used to do back in the day. We synchronize video clips together, and what you essentially had to say was, don't play the videos until both are loaded in. And so the fact that they need to be loaded in means that there'll be that ever slight delay. And so if we were to have a plane, a quad, or something to play our video on, the moment it's loaded in, you would see this white square, and then the video would start playing, or a black square, then the video starts playing, however you set that up. But if we use an invisible image, or we could hypothetically use the first image, but just see it works better. If I use the invisible image, the whole plane will be transparent. You'll still see the frame. And the first thing you start to see is actually the video itself. So this is a little extra nuance to setting this up that I wanted to mention. Okay, but I've got my transparent image. I've got the first frame picture. And this is what we'd make our portrait out of. So hang this on our wall or something. And then the actual video that plays off that first frame, right? So those are the three things we need. Now, our reference image library, this asset we created, right? XR reference image library. By the way, you can also track objects, but we won't talk about that today. I'll select this and I'll click on add image and I'll drag and drop our JFK start image. Now I'm wondering if I can share these files with you here in chat. No, I don't think I can. But you should be able to get these from the GitHub. Okay, but you can use any video. Ideally, you get the first picture of the first frame from that video. And for now, you can just grab any picture, any file, just so you have something. All right, but now that I have these files, in my reference image library, I've dragged and dropped the first picture. Now, to make this work such that it's flush with the actual image, we want to specify a size. So I'll say, okay, what is the actual physical size? It's not particularly important what I start with, but let's say this size, and this is in meters. I'll just kind of guess where these files are. So what size this image is, I'll say 0.1. So that is 0.1 meters. But since it doesn't particularly matter, I'll just set this to 1. So I'll say it's 1 meter in the x-axis, and it will automatically calculate what it will be in the y, or vice versa, right? So I said its physical size is 1 in the x horizontally, and it will calculate that it's about 0.56 vertically. All right, so that's great. What does that mean? Well, it means now that I can create my video clip on a plane that matches that size. So when it spawns that into the world, the size of the video and the portrait will be aligned. That's the key thing that's happening there. So another little nuance to make this work. My reference image library specified a size, and I'll just put 1 here to make this a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so now what do I do in my scene? I'll go ahead and right click in here. I'll go ahead and create a 3D object plane, like so. Now, keep in mind, the way the objects are rendered on top of your image target is like this. So this green arrow actually ends up being the forward part of it. So this is what's going to render forward. And this blue axis is what's going to be the top of it. So just as a quick reminder here, I'll just showcase what I mean just a little bit more clearly. So if we have an image like this, this is our tracked image, and we bring in some digital content, and we want to render that digital content on top of it in whatever that object may be. It doesn't necessarily have to be a video. It could be like a 3D model of a car or something. What happens is this gets aligned like so. So this ends up being the up arrow, and this ends up being the forward arrow. So the image is being detected like this, like as if you're looking at it, but the object gets rendered on it like this, such that the green arrow is pointing away from the image and the blue arrow is pointing up along the image. So this works if we use a plane. If we were to use a quad, for example, if we were to use a quad, you can see how it wouldn't work exactly the same. The green arrow, if it's pointing up, that means it would be rendering sideways, right? So that's not quite what we want to use. But we want this plane. Okay, so that's what I brought into my scene, a plane. Now this plane, I'm going to need to give it a better material than what's on it already. And some material I can override because my video is going to override whatever the material is that is on it. Now, currently, planes render videos upside down, so we'll address that here in a moment. So let's start by creating a material. So I'll right-click in my project window, go up to Create Material. So once again, right-click here, go up to Create Material in my project window. And I'll create a material, I'll just call it my video mat, my video material. And I'll apply that to this plane. And now that this has a custom material I can edit, we'll make some changes to it. The plane itself, I need to add a component called a video player. Now I'll repeat these steps here in a moment, so just relax and I'll be able to show you again. I add onto this plane a component. So when you add components, you can make an object more complex, right? This is the composition pattern, right? So I've got this plane already has a bunch of components and we're composing it with another one here, a video player. That video player needs a video clip. So I'll drag and drop the Why the Moon video clip. It's going to play on awake, so it'll just start playing right away. Now, since we're using URP, we can't use the material property main text. Main texture, or albedo, is what the default, the built-in render pipeline uses this property for its materials. URP uses the base map. So keep that in mind. So now what does this look like if I was to hit play? Let's just see how this plays a video.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure.
Okay, but you can see what's going on. So first off, the video is playing upside down. Remember, the blue arrow is pointing upright. So that's one thing we'll have to address. And one other thing you might notice is that as I'm looking around, it's taking into account the shading of the environment, the angle the light is hitting it. So those are a couple things we'll need to fix. But before we go further in that front, let's just make sure everyone's caught up here. So once again, in our scene, what we created was a 3D object called a plane. So that's great. In our project window, we right-click Create a Material. And I'll call this our video mat. And on our video mat, I will change the, I'll apply the video material onto my plane like so, or through my hierarchy window. Now, there it is, it's applied. Now this video material, it's on the plane. Now the plane itself, I can add a component. So select the plane, click on Add Component, and I'll type in Video Player. Now this video player, like I said, it's going to override whatever the material is displaying. Right now it's just displaying the color white, but we'll want to override it. Now, what we'll do is we'll drag and drop Why the Moon video clip into this property here. Boom. So now we have a video clip based off this image, right? Those are nice and aligned. And since we're using URP, the material property that it's going to override needs to go from main text to base map, like so. That should handle the video part, right? Once again, if I hit play, the video is going to play. Now, like I said, some of the problems is its lighting is a little off and the video is playing upside down. So a couple things we need to address. So what we'll do is first, the material itself, I'm going to change its shader. So I have this selected. I go all the way up in the inspector window, right? Material selected, scroll up. inspector window, the shader, currently, if I select that, it's the universal render pipeline lit shader. I'll want it to be unlit. So now when it plays the video, you'll see that, well, it's not going to take into account the lighting in the environment. The shading is perfectly fine. All right, so that's a nice up when you're creating video materials. All right, so that's one step. Material selected, shader, universal render pipeline, unlit. And our plane itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on our plane and create an empty parent. Now, if you don't have the ability to do that, you can start by creating an empty game object first. And I'll call this my video plane prefab. And the name isn't particularly important, but whatever helps you remember. And I'll make the plane a child of it, like so. So now our plane is a child of the plane prefab. Now, one thing to keep in mind, our plane should be 0, 0, 0 position relative to the video plane prefab. Now that we have this, how do we address that upside down issue? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to actually make this empty parent the prefab, and the plane, we're just going to rotate 180 degrees in the y-axis. So now it's been rotated in the y, and its parent object, as you can see, is pointing blue up. The plane is pointing blue down. So that's the idea there. So if I was to hit play, you would see it, the parent object is aligned upwards along the blue. So that should address that other issue we were having. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to try and save you all some time, and hopefully that is at a rate that you can keep up. What we'll do is we'll take this plane prefab parent object that has the plane as a child, drag and drop that into our project window, like so. We'll create that video plane. So once again, drag and drop that into our project window and create that video plane. Now, like I said, since videos take some time to load, we would see a white screen appear before the video clip plays. So if we select our material, we could either drag and drop the first frame of that image there, and that would do it. But perhaps we want to reuse this video material multiple times. So instead of using the first frame, I like to use this little texture that is just invisible. But it's not showing up invisible, it's black. Well, that's because the material itself, surface type, is opaque. So we just change that to transparent. And so now when we hit play, instead of seeing the white screen first, it just goes right into the video. So another little nuance there. Once again, the material that we're using, the video mat, the base map that it starts with, I'm going to drag and drop the alpha 0 texture. And I'm going to make the surface type, instead of opaque, I'll change that to transparent. Now we have our video plane with a good material. I can right click on that video plane and delete it. Because it's a prefab, it's saved as a file in my project. I don't have to keep it there. That blue piling on it shows me, that blue letter format shows me that it's been saved. Now with that done, we select our AR session origin. We're just going to add a AR tracked image manager, like so. Where it says serialized library, I'm going to drag and drop our reference library file there. Max number of moving images, you can set this to whatever value, but we need at least one, so I'll just set it to 1. The tracked image prefab, I will drag and drop this video plane into there. So once again, that was on my AR session origin. I click add component, AR tracked image manager. So I just typed in image, it shows up. Again, we want the manager. Here, serialized library, drag and drop that reference library that we created earlier. Max number of images, at least 1. Tracked image prefab, drag and drop the video plane prefab that we just created. I'll save our scene. I'll now go up to File, Build Settings, and I'll make sure our scene is once again in this build scene. So I'll hit open, add open scenes. I'll make sure the number is 0. I may need to drag and drop this around or remove the other scenes that are in there to make sure that's the case. And I'll build and run. Now, for all the Android users out there, for us to successfully build and run, what do we need to do? Let's take a look. First, before we can build and run, we need to make sure our Android phone is in developer mode. So to make sure we do that, we go on our drop-down click on the gear symbol at the top right, and there we have our settings. And in our settings, we'd go down to our About Phone section, or whatever section you can get your software information from. So About Phone. And I want to go into software information because that contains my build number. So you may have to track this down a little bit differently based on the phone you're using, but we want to go to software information here. And then we tap on build number 7 times. My phone's already in developer mode, so this is enabled. But after having done that, if you go back to your settings, you'll see developer options. Now, in your developer options, you'll want to scroll down and make sure USB debugging is enabled. Having done that, it disconnected my phone from Visor. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So USB debugging, you want to make sure that's enabled. And it's just going to take a sec there. And make sure verify apps over USB is also enabled. So those 2 properties need to be on. They're probably not by default. Now that that's done, we can go back into Unity, plug in our phone, click build and run. And generally what I like to do is create a new folder called builds. And in there, I'll just create a build, V001. You can get pretty neat with how you organize this. You can create another folder for Android, another folder for iOS, and organize your builds a little bit better there. But this should be good enough. So I am building this app onto my phone. And hopefully Visor can still stay connected. I think Visor will crash on me if I try to build onto my phone here. So I'll just reshare after the build has occurred. All right, and yeah, that's gonna take time no matter what. Now, you can, so Visor, I think, works on Mac computers as well. The process for building on Android is the same for Mac and Windows. The process for building on iOS is very different on Mac and Windows. For Mac, you need to have this program called Xcode. When you build from Unity, it'll launch Xcode for you. And then you have to create a certificate for yourself, sign up as a developer on Apple's website, and load that certificate into Xcode and go through that process there. Oh no, it's building onto my Quest. I'll cancel that. So here you may have seen that the run device, it's set to default device, but I have my Quest and my phone connected to my computer. So instead of the Quest, I'm going to force it to build it onto my Samsung. Now I can build that. Oh, that's rough. Built too many apps onto my Quest accidentally this way. Should be a little bit faster now that I've already built the app. So now it's just installing it basically. Do we need to download any app for this? To follow along, you would need Unity. That should be enough. And then a couple files, a video file that you can also have separately the first image for. That would do it. All right. So the first thing I'm seeing, I can show my phone here. When I install the app, the first thing that should appear is allow Living Portraits to take pictures and record video on your device. So I need to allow that for it to be able to do an AR experience. Now, once again, I'll pull up the nice little image of JFK here. And with Visor, you can kind of see what's going on my phone at the same time. So I'm going to look at my screen.
We choose to go to the moon.
Oh, one second. Okay, so one last one mistake there, one step that was skipped. It is the plane itself, the video plane. It's massive. It's too large for this experience. Now, if you remember, if we zoom in on our plane is actually 1 by 1 by 1 in its scale, which is 10 meters by 10 meters by 10 meters. That's way too large. If you remember a reference library, it said the physical size is only 1 meter in the x. So I have to go to my plane and just divide that x by 10. So 1 divided by 10 should do it. Now, if I go to my reference image library, the y scale here is 0.56. So I need this to be, half a meter. So I would set it to that value and divide by 10. I've got 0.056. So, not the y value, sorry, the z value. I need to set it to that amount. Okay, so as a quick repeat for what I just did, that video plane prefab, the plane itself, which is currently showing up dark here, so I'm just going to temporarily make it opaque to see that change. Okay, so what I'm doing is just adjusting the size of this plane here. So if I look at my reference library, the physical size of my image I've defined as 1 in the x. The plane is actually 10 meters long. So the scale of 1 on a plane is actually 10. So if I want it to be 1, I would actually divide this by 10. So now horizontally, it is 0.1, which is just 1 meter, which matches physical size here. Now, the vertical size, the y for this image, the up and down, is 0.56. So I'll just copy that value, go to my plane, and I'll go to my z-axis. That's going to represent this direction. I'll paste that 0.56 into there, and that's technically 5 meters because a plane is 10 meters by default. So I'll divide this. So I'll just do a slash at the end, 10. Now this plane is the appropriate size. So that was the step for that. So now it's ready. If I save my scene here, I'm going to drag and drop this video plane back onto my video plane in my project window. So it updates that save. I'll delete it from my scene so it's not sticking around when I load up. Go File, Build and Run, and that should work appropriately. Yeah. And that should do it. So let's just take a quick look at Visor once again. Visor's going to need to be restarted there. I'm going to pull up the image here, like so, and I'll try and get Visor up and running. So we can just, this is basically your portrait, so you could, this could be like a printed image on your wall, and that's the image target. All right, Unity has almost completed the build. All right, my phone is going. I'm going to share my phone screen here. All right, so once again, this time, I'll look at that image.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to
So one of the things you may have noticed is that that was the black screen that showed up first before loading up the JFK thing. Because if you remember, we made that video material. We turned it back to opaque just to demonstrate that example. So if we make it transparent, that'll be the complete bit there. But that's it. That is the extent. So I'll just quickly build that out and we'll show the completed version here. And I'll hand it back off to Brendan there, and we'll come back after with a Q&A section there. Ozzy, thank you very much. You're a lovely teacher. Love that you repeat your processes and love your nuanced tips. I forget the power of Unity. I'm astounded by you and everyone's competence with the program. I'm a total newbie. Does Unity work best on PC? I have an iMac M1 and a Samsung Note 10. Is this doable? Yeah, plenty of our students use a Mac. So we actually also have a support channel in our Slack for Mac users. So any problems you're coming across, you'll probably have seen that. We've probably seen that problem elsewhere already as well. All right, so now let's try this one more time and get that ideal result. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and look at JFK there.
We choose to go to the moon.
There we go.
We
So
choose
relatively
to go
well
to the
aligned
moon
with
in
it.
this
You can always
decade and
edit
do
a
the other
little
thing.
bit by
Not
expanding it,
because they
which
are
I like to
easy,
do, but
but because
you
they
can
are
see how it's
hard.
actually static
Because
in
that
reality. But
will
on my
serve to
phone, I can
organize and
see the
measure the
living
best
portrait version of it.
of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept.
All right.
One we are
Well, thank you
willing
everyone for coming so far. We're going to do a Q&A here in a bit. I'll hand it back to Brendan. I hope that you'll be able to follow along with the recording. I'd love to see what paintings you all use and bring to life. There can be a lot of cool things there. I have one post on Twitter here that I'd like you all to check out if you're trying to create shaders instead, because what you can do with this is create a green screen shader, right? So if you have videos where you want to do that and have some transparent backgrounds, you can definitely tackle something like that. I'll bring that into chat here actually, because I've created some shaders for that. So if you ever are interested in working in shaders, I have quite a bit of a background in that front as well. All right, anyways, I'll rambling on there. I'll let you all get back to it. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ozzy. Great presentation, and we will be having him back for the Q&A portion. For now, I wanted to share just a little bit more information on some of our course offerings, just to kind of give you a good idea of what we do here at CircuitStream. First and foremost, though, I hope all your projects from the workshop turn out great. If you do want to share them with us, we would love to see them, as well as any feedback you may have about the workshop. And speaking of feedback, I do want to post another poll here. So it's just on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this workshop to a colleague or a friend or any other interested parties? Definitely just helps us understand what content is valuable and what content you want to see more of. So I've published that poll. Go ahead into the polls tab, and if you could cast your vote, that would be greatly appreciated. In the meantime, so yeah, at CircuitStream, we understand the value of experiential learning. To give you an idea of what this looks like in some of our flagship courses, here are some of the projects our students work on and develop as they learn. So whether that is building scenes, using Unity assets in Unity, developing interactive AR projects in Vuforia, much like we were able to develop today, or coding interactions and functionality in C#. Our students have the opportunity to learn a broad set of skills while they create. And getting started doesn't have to be a huge commitment either. If you're looking to get started in AR and completing your first full AR project, check out our 6-part AR video course, which guides you through the processes and workflows of creating an AR application. Now, for anyone wanting to really expand their XR horizons, CircuitStream has a number of course offerings meant to equip students and professionals with the skills to either pursue their own immersive projects or develop the necessary skills to pursue a career in the XR industry. Our XR Development with Unity course is a live instructor-led curriculum with plenty of avenues for enduring support for both students and alumni. It is a project and portfolio-driven learning experience supplemented with opportunities to acquire an XR industry-specific certification directly through CircuitStream. The course is priced at $3,950, and our next cohort will be launching on May 17th. Now, each of our beginner-friendly XR courses is structured very similarly. So with our interaction design and prototyping course, you can expect the same project-driven, live instructor-led format, complete with its own specific certification path for designers. The course is also priced at $3,950, and the next cohort will be launching on July 13th. Now, one more quick note about our 10-week courses is we have the standalone option, but we're also currently offering a plus package, which includes one of our XR Dev or interaction design courses, but also our C# scripting fundamentals self-directed course and 10 hours of dedicated one-on-one time with an instructor, which we recommend using for project support or further mentorship on XR concepts. And then lastly, our 24-week Unity Developer Bootcamp will be launching again on October 11th, and will prepare you for a 3D development career. You'll learn about C# coding logic, build more than 10 projects, including one that is your very own concept or idea. There's one-on-one career services built into this course that will help you kind of get your foot in the door and get started on your career. And it's also going to provide you with an industry recognized pair of certifications. Now, we also have flexibility around tuition and payment for any of our flagship courses. For international students, we have 3, 6, and 12-month payment plans available. And for our students in the US, we have a financing partner called Climb. They specialize in helping people fund educational programs specifically, and they have great terms. Starting at 12 months, going all the way to 5 years. So tons of options and flexibility there as well. And just to give you an idea of the certifications received from each of our flagship courses, the Unity Developer Bootcamp will have you achieving the Unity Developer Certification from CircuitStream, as well as Unity's Certified Associate Programmer certification. The XR Development with Unity course is going to have you earning the XR Developer with Unity badge or certification through CircuitStream, and the XR Interaction Design and Prototyping course is going to help you achieve the XR Designer certification through CircuitStream. Now, personally, my favorite part about the education we provide has to be our CircuitStream community. It's a great place to network, collaborate, or participate in events like game jams. It's also where the enduring support for students and alumni resides. So we have open office hours 5 times a week with our instructors that are available to existing students and all of our alumni for lifetime access. This is great for continued learning, troubleshooting, and future project support. And I want to give a massive shout out to Arki, our student experience coordinator, who is also mixing things up regularly in there with coffee hours, showcases, and events like Demo Day, where our students are invited to share their personal projects and stories. Now, also regarding our community, if you're interested in hearing about the experiences of our students directly from their mouths, let us know. We'd love to put you in touch with some of our student ambassadors who can share their stories and learning experiences going through our courses. Diana and Monday are a few of our student ambassadors who will be happy to connect. And I think Diana is actually in our audience today. I saw her mixing things up in the chat. So hello, Diana, and welcome. So Diana is an engineer, an XR designer, and founder of her company called M4 Method, where Monday works in business strategy and innovation for the healthcare sector and is very passionate about XR development and C# programming specifically. Yeah, there she is. Hi, Diana. So feel free to inquire about getting connected with one of our student ambassadors if you'd like to get a first-hand account of the learning experience we provide here at CircuitStream. Now, if you're looking to get a closer look at any of our course information or curriculums, you can download the syllabus for any of our courses on our website at www.circuitstream.com or any of our affiliated university websites listed here. If you have specific questions or want to learn more, you can also speak with any of our enrollment advisors as well. So we have Roham, Leanne, Tyler, Shoshana, myself, and Stella. We'd all love to chat about your learning goals and just be able to add any additional clarity around CircuitStream or any of our courses. The last thing I want to mention is that we have our XR development cohort. It's going to be launching on May 17th. And for anyone interested in delving deeper into that course, we'll be hosting an open house next week on May 5th to offer more insight into how you can overhaul your XR dev skills. We will also be offering scholarships of $1,000 to 5 of our interested audience members at that open house who join us for the duration of the event. So get registered today, and we'd love to see you out there next Thursday. Lastly, I just want to thank our audience members. I definitely want to thank Ozzy for sharing his time and knowledge with us today. Definitely, appreciate you guys being here, and again, any feedback that you can share is always, highly regarded. We'll move into the Q&A session, and if Ozzy's around, we'd love to have him back on stage to help us help me answer some of these more probably technical questions.
Yeah, no worries. Happy to help.
Okay, perfect. So we'll start. It looks like I had already answered a couple of them, so thank you for doing that. We'll start with. I will go by upvotes here. So David, I don't think he's with us anymore. Had to bow out early, but his question: is it possible to extract your image to Blender or some kind of 3D app, like making my own meta demo?
Yeah, I don't see why not. You can, like, I just showed augmenting a video player, but you can augment just regular digital content. It could be a 3D model that's animated. I don't see why not.
Perfect. What SDK is taught in the Intro to AR course?
Do we have a separate course that's Intro to AR or just the XR Dev course?
The self-directed AR course. Are you familiar with the kind of layout of that?
No, I'm not familiar with that, but I'm guaranteeing you that they are going to teach AR Foundation, Vuforia, and who I think will be including the Lightship SDK as well soon. So it'll be at
Oh,
least AR
Lightship.
Foundation and Vuforia. Yeah.
Okay, wicked, awesome. Question from Mario: could we get the Slack channel link? Is that possible to share with the audience?
This will be a question for a
I'll ask.
different staff member.
Yeah, I'll ask Z about that if she is with us. Do we want to share? Are we able to share that link?
I think we're able to share some level of channels. Yeah,
Yeah.
some
Okay.
of the channels like office hours or yeah, it's just I think it's just office hours and like particular class channels that we can't share, but I think their community-wide channel is available.
Okay, perfect. So check out the chat. I think Z will hook us up with the appropriate link there.
Did you mention that they have access to office hours in perpetuity?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
enduring support is something that all of our students as well as alumni do have access to, which is a huge value add benefit. Question from Jessica: what does the player need to opt into in order to experience?
What does the player need to opt into in order to experience? You mean, for example, this one's you install the app. If you want to create like a Android or iOS app, that's what you would do.
Maybe I'll ask if Jessica's still around. If you could clarify that question or possibly rephrase, just so we can maybe better understand that one.
Yeah.
I'm a little curious as well. But we'll move to the next question for now. So Chloe, is this a Windows specific software? I build on Mac but have an Android phone, so I think we kind of already covered this one. But
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's not Windows specific.
yeah, so it sounds like there's a few additional steps involved in the process, but otherwise Mac is certainly a viable option.
Oh, yeah. Let me complete answer that again. So if you have a Windows or a Mac, Unity is the same, and you can build onto Android the same way, except Windows can't directly build onto iPhones. Macs can. And the process for Mac building onto iPhones is you install Xcode, you sign up for a developer account, you get your signing certificate into Xcode, and so when you build from Unity, it builds a Xcode project, which then you can build onto an iPhone. So the steps, there's a few extra steps there. If you're going to be building on a Windows, you either have not supposed to say these things. So I'm just saying for educational purposes, one would potentially use Virtual Machine or the iOS Builder plugin app that's available on the Asset Store for educational purposes only, right? Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, fair enough. So the last one we have here, and please feel free to continue any questions that you guys have. We'll wait around for a couple more minutes, but the last one again is from David. Can I animate it or add some kind of filter to it?
Yeah, you can definitely add filters. I'll share my screen real quick here. Kind of show that in action. Show if you wanted an easy way to add filters, or one of the most powerful ways to add filters would be using shader graph. So you could totally, go like a crossfade shader. You could use something like a green screen shader. You have a lot of options with the way you can change the layout of the object, right? You can even start doing mesh deformation with shaders and all that kind of stuff. So shader graph is covered in my particular class, but definitely something you could add. And if you edit the video outside of Unity, that will obviously be reserved as well.
Okay, beautiful. I think that's all the questions we have. I think Z is, here's a channel you can join. Okay, so I think Z was able to post that. Everyone check out the link for the Slack channel, and we'd love to see you in there. If there are no more questions, oh, looks like we did get one. So from Michelle, with the ongoing development of AR, XR, VR, MR, and living portraits, are we delving into the territory of concerns with potential deepfakes in all of these emerging technology platforms? Oh boy. Love to hear your take on this.
That is interesting. So deepfakes are probably already an issue. I think there's been a few instances where like US Congress members were deepfaked to say some different things, and fake news was spread on a few different social media platforms. So yeah, I think that's kind of already a problem. In regards to mixed reality, I'm not sure if that would necessarily play a role. I mean, you could potentially have like a VR avatar in some metaverse, and that VR avatar is instead an image of someone else, but you have the ability to do that already.
Yep. AKA it's already an issue. So hopefully it doesn't bleed into the metaverse or AR or anything along those lines, but it likely is already present, unfortunately.
Yes.
Do you have any experience with deepfakes, Ozzy? Have you ever created one? Have you ever?
Oh, I messed around a little bit with my brother's face and made it put it on top of a singer, and so it looked like he was singing a song that was what was the "Don't You Wish Your Girlfriend Was Hot." So I can't remember the name of the song. It was quite entertaining.
I can imagine he was a little bit
He
off put
loved
by
it.
that.
He was laughing a lot. So he actually shared it with everyone in his office.
That's brilliant. Brilliant.
What are the
Okay.
technical requirements of this to pursue this certification? There's a lot of different courses to choose from. So the XR Dev course is pretty introductory. That should get you on the road to programming. We have the Intro to C# as well. That should get you a very nice introduction into C# programming, and then you can build off of that into the XR Dev course. There's design courses as well, I believe, that require less programming altogether, and those are very much oriented at prototyping quickly. So yeah, there's probably a course based on your skill level for sure.
In terms of like Unity has its own kind of technical requirements that if I'm not mistaken, require like experience in the actual industry or in the actual role. So you'd have to take a look at those ones under a magnifying glass a little bit. In terms of the certifications we offer at CircuitStream, like to graduate one of our courses, it's based mostly on engagement as well as attendance. So as long as you are attending the classes, as long as you're able to submit your projects, then achieving one of those certifications is is typically the end result. So yeah, no like major technical hurdles there. It is all about your participation throughout the course.
And then some of the courses do contain enough of material, and we have quizzes at some of the end of some of the sessions as well, and that can help prepare you for the Unity Certified User certificate as well. So that should help you along the lines as well.
Yeah, a lot of the content that we do include in our courses would be transferable to put towards the Unity certifications as well. Probably would require a little bit more study time or a little bit more time with the actual program to take one of their certifications, but definitely we would help prepare for those certifications as well.
Right. Yeah. 100%. And then you have office hours. You can visit after doing the course, you can come to office hours pretty much every day. Maybe not Sunday or something, but yeah, and some days have multiple office hours, so you can keep studying as needed, get some good direction there.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, excellent. I think that's all the questions for today. Again, thank you so much, Ozzy, for taking the time today. Thank you to all of our audience members for being here. We'll really look forward to seeing you at any future workshops or the open house next week. That's going to be a very interesting one as well. For now, that is all for today, and have yourselves a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you were joining us from. And until next time, we will see you soon.
Take care.